time you say no, every time you prioritize your time, every time you choose your well-being, the guilt appears, the reproach shows up, the "you're not like you used to be" comments start flying. This isn't friendship. This is emotional control. Let me explain what's happening in your brain when this occurs. Your mind starts to associate self-care with punishment. And little by little, you learn to betray yourself to maintain the relationship. You cancel your plans. You ignore your needs. You sacrifice your peace just to avoid their disappointment or anger. And here's the uncomfortable part that most people don't want to hear. If someone gets angry when you set boundaries, it's because they benefited from you not having them. Read that again. They're not upset because they miss you. They're upset because you're no longer serving their needs unconditionally. Psychology shows us that healthy relationships include mutual respect for personal space, time, and emotional capacity. When someone consistently violates these boundaries, they're essentially saying, "Your needs don't matter as much as mine." Think about it. Have you ever felt guilty for taking a day for yourself? For saying no to plans when you were exhausted? For prioritizing something important to you over what they wanted? If the answer is yes, and if that guilt was reinforced by their reaction, you're dealing with boundary violation. Real friends understand that you have a life outside of them. Real friends celebrate when you take care of yourself. Real friends never make you choose between your well-being and their approval. Here's a practical test. The next time you need to set a boundary, notice their reaction. Do they respect it? Do they ask how they can support you? Or do they make it about themselves, make you explain yourself endlessly, or punish you with silence and guilt? The answer will tell you everything you need to know. Sign 2. They're only there when everything is going well. When things are good, they're there. When you're shining, they appear. When you have something to offer, they're the first to arrive. But when you're struggling, when you're doubting yourself, when you need real support, they disappear. They minimize your problems. They change the subject. Psychologically, this is called a utilitarian relationship. They don't see you as a person, they see you as a resource. Social psychology demonstrates that support during difficult moments is the true indicator of an authentic bond. Everything else is convenience. Let me paint you a picture. You get a promotion, you're celebrating a success, you're on top of the world. Where are they? Right there, cheering you on, wanting to be part of your moment, posting about your success, basking in the reflected glory. Now flip the script. You lose your job. You're going through a breakup. You're dealing with family issues. You're questioning your path in life. Where are they now? If they've suddenly become busy, if they're sending one-word responses, if they're "so sorry you're going through this, but," and then immediately redirect the conversation to themselves, you have your answer. True friendship isn't tested in the good times. Anyone can show up to a party. True friendship is tested when there's nothing to celebrate, when you have nothing to give, when you're at your lowest and all you need is someone to sit with you in the darkness. Research in relationship psychology shows that the quality of support during adversity is one of the strongest predictors of long-term relationship satisfaction and authenticity. Fair-weather friends create fair-weather bonds, nothing more. And here's what makes this particularly painful. You've probably been there for them countless times. You've listened to their problems, supported their crises, showed up when they needed you. But the moment you need the same energy returned, the dynamic shifts. This imbalance isn't accidental, it's a pattern, and patterns reveal character. Sign 3. They always make you doubt yourself. They don't insult you directly. They don't attack you head-on. They do it with small phrases, subtle comments, constant little jabs. You're exaggerating. That wasn't a big deal. You're always so sensitive. Are you sure that's what happened? I think you're overthinking this. This is called emotional invalidation, and its effect is devastating. You start to distrust your intuition, your emotions, your perception of reality. Your internal compass gets scrambled. You second-guess everything you feel, everything you experience, everything you know to be true deep down. But here's the part nobody wants to admit. This doesn't happen by accident. Emotional invalidation is a form of psychological manipulation, whether conscious or unconscious. When someone repeatedly tells you that your feelings aren't valid, that your reactions are wrong, that your perspective is flawed, they're training you to doubt yourself and trust them instead. Let me be very clear about what this looks like in practice. You tell them something hurt you. Instead of acknowledging your pain, they tell you you're being too sensitive. You express excitement about something. Instead of sharing your joy, they bring you down to earth with a reality check. You share a concern or fear. Instead of validating it, they dismiss it as irrational. Over time, this creates something psychologists call learned helplessness. You stop trusting your own judgment. You stop advocating for yourself. You stop speaking up because you've learned that your voice doesn't matter. And the truly insidious part, you start to believe them. You start to think maybe you are too sensitive, maybe you are exaggerating, maybe you can't trust your own feelings. But let me tell you something crucial. Your feelings are valid, period. You don't need someone else's permission to feel what you feel. You don't need someone else's approval to trust your own experience. If someone consistently makes you question your reality, that's not friendship. That's gaslighting. And it's one of the most damaging patterns in toxic relationships. Sign 4. They compete with you instead of supporting you. A healthy friend celebrates your achievements. A toxic friend minimizes them, compares them, or turns them into competition. If you improve, they get uncomfortable. If you grow, they distance themselves. If you move forward, they change their attitude. Psychology explains it like this. When someone isn't working on themselves, your growth becomes an uncomfortable mirror. And instead of growing with you, they prefer to bring you down. But here's where it gets even worse. Most people know something isn't right, but they choose to ignore it. And that mistake costs them years of personal growth. Let's talk about what competitive friendship actually looks like, because it's often disguised as something else. You share good news. Instead of genuine happiness, you get, "That's great, I actually just..." And they immediately redirect to their own achievement. You're excited about a new opportunity. They respond with, "Be careful, I tried something like that and it didn't work out." You're making progress on a goal. Suddenly they're doing the same thing but better, faster, or with more to prove. This isn't inspiration. This isn't mutual growth. This is one-upmanship. Research in social comparison theory shows that healthy relationships involve upward inspiration, not competitive rivalry. When you see someone you care about succeeding, it should motivate you, not threaten you. But toxic friends feel threatened by your success because it highlights their own stagnation. Your wins make them confront what they're not doing. Your progress reminds them of their own fears and insecurities. And instead of using that as fuel to work on themselves, they use it as fuel to subtly undermine you. They might offer backhanded compliments. "Wow, you're doing so well. I could never be that focused." They might plant seeds of doubt. "Are you sure this is the right move? It seems risky." They might withhold enthusiasm. "That's cool, I guess," when you're clearly excited. The pattern is clear. When your light shines brighter, they don't celebrate it. They try to dim it. And here's the brutal truth. You cannot grow alongside people who need you to stay small to feel comfortable. Sign 5. They emotionally drain you after seeing them. You feel tired, confused, with less energy than before. Not because you talked a lot, but because everything revolved around them, their problems, their dramas, their constant crises. This is called passive emotional dependency. They use your attention as an emotional regulator, but they do nothing to change. Let me be very specific about what emotional vampirism looks like. Every conversation is about their problems. Every meetup becomes a therapy session where you're the unpaid therapist. Every text exchange is them venting, dumping, spiraling, and you're left holding the emotional weight. But here's the critical difference between supporting a friend and being drained by one. Reciprocity in action. A friend going through a hard time will lean on you, yes. But they'll also check in on you. They'll ask how you're doing. They'll take steps to address their situation. They'll show gratitude for your support. An emotional vampire only takes. They're in a perpetual state of crisis, but they never actually do anything to improve their situation. They want you to fix their feelings, but not to solve their problems. They want endless sympathy, but no accountability. Psychology research on emotional labor shows that one-sided emotional support leads to burnout, resentment, and deterioration of mental health in the person providing the support. And here's what makes it so difficult to recognize. Because they're struggling, you feel guilty for pulling back. Because they need you, you feel obligated to stay. Because they're your friend, you think this is what loyalty looks like. But loyalty doesn't mean sacrificing your well-being. Support doesn't mean becoming a dumping ground. Friendship doesn't mean giving until you have nothing left. If you consistently feel exhausted after interactions with someone, if you dread seeing their name pop up on your phone, if you need time to recover after spending time with them, that's not a friendship sustaining you. That's a friendship draining you. And you deserve relationships that energize you, not deplete you. Sign 6. They turn you into a smaller version of yourself. This is the definitive sign. It's not a phrase, it's not an argument, it's not a specific moment, it's something quieter, more insidious. Over time, you speak less, dream less, risk less, trust less. Not because you've changed, but because you learned that being yourself has an emotional cost. And no bond that dims your light deserves to be called friendship. Psychology is clear on this. Toxic people aren't always aggressive, manipulative, or obvious. The most dangerous ones hide behind trust, habit, and loyalty. Let me describe what this looks like in real life. You used to share your ideas freely. Now you hold them back because you've learned they'll be shot down or mocked. You used to be excited about your goals. Now you keep them quiet because you've learned they'll be minimized or criticized. You used to express yourself authentically. Now you filter everything because you've learned that being real comes with judgment. This is what psychologists call self-silencing. And it's one of the most damaging long-term effects of toxic relationships. You become a shadow of yourself. Not all at once, but gradually. So gradually that you might not even notice until one day you look in the mirror and realize you don't recognize the person staring back. The you that used to laugh freely, share boldly, dream wildly. Where did that person go? The answer is often. They were slowly erased by relationships that required them to be less. Research in identity development shows that we become like the people we surround ourselves with. If those people celebrate you, you expand. If those people criticize you, you contract. And the tragedy is this: you have so much to offer the world. You have gifts, talents, perspectives, energy that the world needs. But if you're surrounded by people who need you to be small, you'll never discover how big you can become. If this hurt, good. It means you needed to hear it, because your relationships influence your self-esteem, your decisions, your energy. And many times the reason you're not moving forward isn't you. It's the environment you've normalized. Remember, you're not obligated to maintain relationships that damage your mental health. If you want to break this cycle, start with this. Observe how you feel after seeing them. Listen to your discomfort. Don't justify it. Understand that walking away doesn't make you selfish. It makes you conscious. Sometimes growing doesn't mean adding people to your life. It means having the courage to let go of those who no longer fit who you're becoming. You deserve friends who celebrate you, support you, respect you, and inspire you to be the fullest version of yourself. Anything less isn't friendship. It's just familiar toxicity. If this video helped you see something more clearly, make sure to like and subscribe. And if you want to go even deeper, check out the next video. It's going to open your eyes even more. Your mental health matters. Your growth matters. You matter. Choose your circle wisely.